I thought at some point that I had this superpower to predict the future. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Dave and I have OCD. So as you can see from the camera movement, we have a new toy. This is a gift from my girlfriend Karis. This was my birthday present. It's a gimbal, which is going to be a lot of fun for all different types of videos. See, I really enjoy filming cinematics and things for her channel. I also enjoy filming when we go to car shows, so this will be a massive help with that. So today's video I want to talk to you about magical thinking OCD. They're probably wondering, what is magical thinking OCD? I've done a little bit of research over the past week since I made my last video, so nearly 2 weeks now, about what my type of OCD is, as I have been diagnosed by a doctor, but I haven't been told what type I had. So I did a little bit of research online. It came down to one of the things that affects me most is a thing called magical thinking OCD, which is a type of OCD in which you believe certain rituals or routines can actually change the trajectory of your life. So the science behind magical thinking OCD is basically your brain creating these false connections between thoughts and outcomes. Most people will do this to feel a sense of control. Now this might seem like a good thing at the time, but then you get put into this thing that's called the anxiety loop. And what that is basically the fact that you feel like it's helping at the time, so it alleviates feelings of anxiety, you doing these rituals and these routines, but in the long run is actually making them a lot worse because it really does focus you on these obsessive thoughts and makes them a lot harder to get rid of. Also, it means that you're going to continue to do these OCD routines and rituals way more because you actually feel like it's affecting something. There was once a time, if not maybe still a little bit, where I believed that the things in my head that I was thinking of were genuinely fully affecting my life and changing the way things possibly could have been. If you could think of something that was really good in your head, people with magical thinking OCD genuinely believe that if they follow a certain routine when it pops into their head and they do a certain ritual whenever they feel like they need to, it alleviates anxiety and it also will make these things come true. Let me paint the picture for you. During the time of COVID, probably about a year into it, maybe a little bit more, I was dealing a lot with the side effects of this type of OCD. I remember having a dream. I don't ever think I dreamt it, but that's what my brain tells me it was. And I had this dream where I was in a car and something bad was going to happen. There was going to be an accident, basically. And at the time of this accident happening, there was a certain song playing on the radio. I remember thinking for ages that I can't be in a car when that plays. To me, it seemed like bad luck. I'd seen a premonition. This was going to happen. I need to avoid that song at all times. Now, that song was Till I Collapse by Eminem. And I avoided that song like the plague. Every time it would come on Spotify or the radio, I would turn off the radio, I would turn off Spotify, instantly skip it. I removed it from every playlist it was ever in from when I was a kid, all because of this type of OCD. Saying all this makes me feel a bit silly, but that's just how it was. I remember being passenger in the car on the way to a car event. On the way down there, we were like, oh, we should put some music on. And that was one of the songs that they wanted to put on. And I remember trying to plead with the other passenger to not put it on the aux because I couldn't even explain myself. I couldn't say, because I think something bad's going to happen if it comes on. Because I believe we've probably all seen Final Destination. And my brain genuinely believed that I'd seen something. I was actually taking part in one of those Final Destination type moments from the film. Obviously I wasn't. The song came on. I sat with extreme anxiety, ready for the worst, the entire way through it. And then the song finished and nothing had happened. I had avoided that song probably for, I'd say, 6 months since I had that thought / deja vu / dream. That's another example of how it was affecting my life in a bad way, making me believe that if I avoid this or if I do this, then this will be the outcome rather than the bad outcome. Or if I follow this and I do these routines and these rituals, it'll send me completely on the right trajectory. I thought at some point that I had this superpower to predict the future. In the last week, I've been doing a lot of research into my OCD, trying to figure out what type I suffer with and what really affects me. I've come to the conclusion that the type of OCD that I have, based on definitions, I suffer with reassurance OCD and I suffer with magical thinking OCD. Now, fear not, there is help out there for magical thinking OCD as well as there is for every other type of OCD. Leave a comment if you've tried to help your own OCD. Let me know what's helped you. Let me know what's helped other people around you if they suffer from OCD, if you haven't got it yourself and you're just here to learn more about it. There's a few ways to help your OCD, and these things include one I mentioned in my last video, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, as well as ERP, which I'll throw a definition up on the screen here for that. What ERP is basically like exposure therapy. And as the word would suggest, you are exposing yourself to these routines and these rituals and these obsessive thoughts, but not acting on them. I do find that to be quite a helpful thing. I am someone that has done a bit of exposure therapy in the past for OCD, and I have found that it does help. I've also found that this is a bit like exposure therapy because it makes me talk about my OCD, which then makes it seem like it's not such a strange thing. I've noticed as well, even over the past 2 weeks after filming that first video and uploading it, that when I do have these thoughts, I'm able to shrug them off a lot more because of the thought of, well, it's just this, and it's just my brain, messing with me, basically. If I'm being honest, that has been such a big difference for me. So back to that feeling of me saying that I felt like I could predict the future. What happens is I believe that that thing will come true if I follow these routines in my head, because I do have more of a mental type of OCD than a physical, although sometimes it can be physical as well. One of my routines is every time I get out of my car, when I lock it, I have to check my door handles, and I have to do it a certain amount of times, and I've got to do it in a certain pattern. Yes, there is definitely a side of me that thinks that if I do these things, these thoughts, good or bad, either will happen or won't happen, depending on if it's a good or a bad thought. I find it very hard as someone with this type of OCD to even sit here and say, that's not true, of course that's not going to be the case. Because my brain genuinely does believe that if I do these things, then the right outcome will happen. When I was younger, suffering with OCD, and I was having these deja vu moments, I genuinely did believe that they were premonitions, in a way, of me being able to predict the future and me being able to shape and change the future. Because of that, I wouldn't tell anyone about it, because I thought if I did, the world might take away my special secret superpower. For a 10-year-old, that's not that bad of a thing to be saying. Now, if you believe that as in your 20s, people might think you're a bit weird. If you do suffer with magical thinking OCD, or you think you do, please feel free to leave a comment telling me about it, letting me know what your experience with it is. Feel free to let me know if it's associated as well with deja vu. The magical thinking OCD at the time can feel like a really good thing. You feel like you're really affecting your life in a positive way by having these thoughts and doing these rituals and these routines, because it's actually pushing your life in the trajectory that you want it to be going. However, it can also be debilitating. You will end up being late to places, or you'll end up missing events, or you'll end up avoiding certain circumstances because you think that it will affect reality because of those thoughts. And that obviously isn't good. You obviously don't want to be doing that. The main point in this is, if you do feel like you suffer from it, there is help out there, whether you can check online to find help, or if you just want to research it yourself, learn more about it, learn more about the different types of OCD, because I have found that has been really helping me come to a bit of an understanding with my condition. If you guys did make it this far through the video, then thank you very much for your support, and I hope you guys found something in this video that helped you even just a little bit.